Welcome back to Speak More Fluently. Ever feel like you've got the English vocabulary down, grammar's okay, but you still kind of struggle to really connect? Or maybe sometimes you even accidentally, offend people.
Oh, absolutely. It happens.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into something a bit more subtle. It's the art of communication beyond the words, those unspoken rules that really make a difference.
Yeah, the things that help you sound natural, confident, and actually get your meaning across clearly.
We'll be looking at stuff like how formal you should be, your body language, even how your jokes land with different people.
Right. Because understanding these nuances, well, it's kind of the secret sauce, isn't it? It takes your fluency to that next level.
It really does. So stick around, because we think this will help you feel much more comfortable in all sorts of English-speaking situations.
Definitely. It's fascinating how much we communicate without even thinking about it. Through these hidden channels, we're going to unpack some key areas.
These you don't always find in textbooks.
Exactly, like formality, gestures, even your digital habits. They all affect how people see you.
Think of it as getting an insider's view on how to really, click with English speakers.
From all different backgrounds.
Okay, so let's jump right into something we all do, probably without much thought. Adjusting how formal our language is.
Register, that's the term for it, right? Different levels.
Yeah, exactly. The way you'd talk to a close friend versus, say, a new colleague or someone you've just met, big difference.
Huge difference. And even though English doesn't have that formal, like Spanish or French.
Right, no usted or vous.
We signal formality in loads of other ways. Just think about saying hello.
Okay.
To a friend, it might be, hey, what's up? Super casual.
Yeah, standard.
In a more neutral setting, maybe hello, how are you? Pretty straightforward. But in a really professional context, maybe meeting someone important, you might go with, good afternoon, I hope you're doing well. Much more formal.
And getting that switch right, well, it's pretty crucial, isn't it? It's about fitting your language to the actual situation.
Absolutely. The way you'd fire off a quick Slack message to a teammate
Totally different.
is miles away from how you'd word a request to your manager in an email.
You'd probably soften it, right? Like,
Yeah.
Could you possibly? Or I was wondering if...
Exactly. Whereas with your teammate, it might just be, hey, can you send that over?
Yeah.
Much more direct.
It's interesting how that plays out with, managers or senior people. That indirectness.
Yeah.
It feels like respect.
It often is, yeah. It reflects a kind of cultural understanding of hierarchy in many workplaces. That little bit of deference.
And if you're working with people from different cultures, figuring out that initial level can be a bit tricky.
It definitely can. So, when in doubt.
Err on the side of caution. Be a bit more formal.
Generally, that's a pretty safe bet. You can always get more casual later once you've built some rapport and you understand their style better.
Right. It shows consideration from the start.
Exactly. So maybe think about your own conversations recently. Have you consciously shifted gears formality-wise, depending on who you were talking to?
Yeah, you do it automatically, but maybe not always consciously. It's definitely something worth paying more attention to, especially in English with diverse groups.
Good point. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about something that speaks volumes without any words at all.
Nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
Body language and all that.
Precisely. And this is where cultural differences can really pop up and cause some awkwardness sometimes.
Like eye contact?
Eye contact is a big one, yeah. In some cultures, looking someone straight in the eye signals confidence, engagement.
Like here, generally.
Generally, yes. But in other cultures, too much direct eye contact can feel aggressive.
Yeah.
Or even disrespectful.
Wow, okay. And gestures.
Oh, gestures are fascinating. Think about the thumbs up.
He's good, okay?
Right, for many English speakers, yes. But
Yeah.
you flash that in certain parts of the world, and it's quite offensive. Really offensive, actually.
Good to know. It's such a small thing that it can have a huge impact.
Exactly. And then there's personal space. You know, how close you stand to someone when you're talking.
Oh, yeah. Some people are close talkers.
Right. But what feels normal and comfortable to one person might feel really intrusive, almost alarming to someone else. It all depends on their cultural background, like invisible bubbles around us.
And the size of the bubble changes.
The size changes. And it's not just about one specific thing, like eye contact or gestures. It's how it all works together with what you're actually saying.
Alignment, you mean?
Yes, alignment is key. If you're saying, oh, I'm so thrilled to be here, but you're frowning with your arms crossed.
People pick up on that disconnect.
Instantly. They'll probably believe the body language more than the words. It creates confusion, maybe even mistrust.
So you need to make sure your nonverbals are actually reinforcing your verbal message, not contradicting it.
That's the goal. So think back, maybe a meeting you were in recently or a chat. Were you aware of your own body language, how it might have looked?
Subtle stuff, but yeah, really powerful.
Incredibly powerful. Okay, let's tackle something else that can be tricky. Idioms and humor.
Oh boy, idioms. Those phrases like break the ice or hit the sack, they don't mean what the words literally say.
Exactly. They're like cultural shortcuts. That's a good way to think about it.
Shortcuts that only work if everyone knows the code.
Precisely. And because they rely on that shared cultural understanding, it's often wise to be a bit cautious using them in really diverse groups.
Or at least explain them.
Yeah, if you use one, maybe just add a quick explanation, break the ice. It just means starting a conversation. It helps avoid confusion.
It makes sense. And humor. Oh, humor is even trickier, I think.
It really is so subjective and hugely cultural. What cracks one person up might just fall completely flat somewhere else. Or worse.
Right, it could even be offensive.
Definitely. While some humor, like, slapstick or silly physical stuff, might travel okay.
More universal.
Sort of. But things like puns, wordplay, jokes that rely on specific cultural references, they often just don't translate well at all.
So what's the advice then? For using humor across cultures, should you just avoid it?
Not necessarily avoid it completely, but maybe stick to safer territory.
Like what?
Well, lighthearted observations about everyday situations, things everyone can relate to, maybe a little bit of gentle self-deprecation, making fun of yourself slightly.
Okay, that seems safe enough.
But it's usually best to steer clear of sarcasm. It relies so much on tone and context, it's super easy to misinterpret, especially in writing.
Yeah, sarcasm can be tough even face-to-face sometimes.
And definitely avoid jokes about sensitive stuff, politics, religion, those kinds of things. Just don't go there in mixed company, usually.
Good rule of thumb. So it's worth thinking about the idioms you use regularly. Would everyone get them? And maybe with humor, just tread carefully at first.
Exactly, especially when you're building relationships. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the digital world.
Yes. Emails, Slack, WhatsApp, all that jazz. It feels informal, but there are definitely still unspoken rules, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely. Take emojis, for example. They can be super useful, right, for adding tone.
Totally. A smiley face can make a request sound way friendlier.
It really can. But where and when you use them, that matters a lot.
Right. You probably wouldn't sprinkle a formal business proposal email with, like, party popper emojis.
Probably not. On platforms like Slack or WhatsApp, especially with your close team, emojis, even GIFs can be great. They build camaraderie, make things feel more relaxed.
Sure, it fits the medium.
But in more formal emails, or say on LinkedIn messages, it's usually better to keep them to a minimum. Or maybe none at all, depending on the context.
Gotcha. What about response times? That's another digital thing. The pressure to reply instantly.
Oh, that's a big one. And expectations there can vary hugely across cultures.
How so?
Well, in some business cultures, a super quick reply is valued. Shows you're efficient, engaged.
Right, on the ball.
But in others, a quick reply might almost seem rushed, like you didn't give it proper thought. A more considered, maybe slightly slower, response is the norm.
Interesting. So that could cause friction in global teams if people have different expectations.
It definitely can. It's actually something that's often worth discussing openly in a team. What are our communication norms? What's a reasonable response time for different types of messages?
That's smart, just setting expectations. So it's good for you, the listener, to be mindful of your own emoji use and your assumptions about response times.
Yeah, especially when interacting internationally. Okay, one last area to touch on: how we use language to be polite.
Okay. This is about softening things, using words like maybe or perhaps.
Exactly. That's often called hedging. Using words like perhaps, maybe, a bit, it seems like, I think. It allows us to phrase things less directly, with a bit more uncertainty.
Which can sound more polite.
Often, yes, it softens the statement. Similarly, being indirect with requests, instead of a command like, send me that report.
You might say,
I was wondering if you could send me that report, or would you mind sending that report when you have a moment?
much gentler, less demanding.
Right. And there are actually different flavors of politeness, linguistically speaking.
Oh, like what?
Well, there's what's called positive politeness. That's about building connection, emphasizing camaraderie, making the other person feel included and valued.
Like saying,
We'd really love your input on this, or let's tackle this together. It emphasizes the we.
okay, I get that,
Then the other kind.
is negative politeness. It sounds bad, but it just means respecting the other person's autonomy and freedom, not imposing on them.
So that's where phrases like, if you have time, or sorry to bother you, but come in.
Exactly. Or could you possibly? It acknowledges that you're asking for something and respects their space and time.
So it all boils down to being thoughtful, really, thinking about how your words might land. Precisely. It's about awareness. So think about how you usually phrase things, especially requests or opinions. Are there times when maybe using a bit more hedging or being slightly more indirect could actually smooth things over or show more consideration?
Definitely food for thought.
Oh.
Wow, we've covered quite a bit today, haven't we?
We have.
From register and formality,
To nonverbal cues, body language,
idioms, and the minefield of humor.
digital etiquette, emojis, response times.
And finally, those politeness strategies, hedging and indirectness.
Yeah. And hopefully it's clear that mastering these things, or at least being aware of them, really boosts your confidence and your, well, cultural sensitivity.
It goes so far beyond just knowing the grammar rules, doesn't it?
Miles beyond.
Yeah.
True fluency, I think, is about really understanding the people you're talking to, not just the language itself.
That's a great way to put it.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. In your next conversation, whether it's online or face-to-face, try pay a little extra attention to these nuances.
Notice how people adjust their formality.
Yeah, notice their body language. Listen for those little politeness markers. And maybe think about how just a small adjustment in your own approach.
Like using maybe instead of being totally direct.
Exactly. How even small tweaks might lead to clearer communication, fewer misunderstandings, and actually stronger connections with people.
Because it's not just about the words.
It's really not. It's about understanding people,